Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, and last week we were taking a look at the whole process of developing godly character. And one of the things we were looking at was the fruit of the Spirit, that list that the Apostle Paul lists in Galatians chapter 5. And one of the things we were mentioning there was there seems to be an indication of a process, that God is doing a redemptive process in our lives in restoring godly character to us as the people of God. Well, sometimes when we look at that list, we come to the last one that we looked at last week, which was kindness, and then it lists the fruit or the characteristic of goodness, and sometimes those are kind of hard to distinguish. And so I believe there is a distinction, and one of those is simply that the word for kindness is used almost exclusively for acts of tenderness or compassion. It has the idea of a softness to it. But when we come to this word goodness, it's a stronger word than the word for kindness. And it seems to indicate that, that it's a goodness that can be tough when it's necessary. We might even call it tough love. It's a goodness that can sometimes correct or rebuke, not because it hates us, but it can correct or rebuke because it loves us. It's kind of like, I love you so much, I just don't want you to stay where you are. I want you to be better. It's sort of like a love of a parent who is a good parent, but they desire their children to develop godly character. Now, the word that Paul uses here for goodness also indicates the idea of an intrinsic goodness, something deep down in us, a quality of goodness that goes deeper than just acts of kindness and expects more out of its recipients than is expected from kindness. Now, the idea of goodness then is that something works in the way that it's supposed to work. I think of an example of a flashlight. A flashlight is good. It helps you see in the dark. But if the batteries are bad or the connections are bad, all of a sudden that flashlight is no longer good. It no longer serves the function that was intended for it. Now, that idea of goodness then means that we are restored to usefulness. Now, those things that are damaged then can either be thrown away or they can be repaired or fixed. Well, God chose to repair us and restore us and redeem us. Now, the first time that we see this idea of goodness in the Bible is really in the very first chapter of Genesis, where God goes through the days of creation, and on each of those there's some mention of that is good, that is good. And so we see that God pronounced his creation was good. And on the last day he said, it's very good. But when sin entered in Genesis 3, that which was good lost its usefulness and it became no longer good. And so God then desires in his goodness to restore that goodness that we once possessed. Now, the fact is that when creation fell and man fell, we really lost all that essential nature of goodness. So right now, God is in the process of restoring that goodness to us as Christians. And the way he does that is by coming to live in us in the presence of his Holy Spirit. And this whole list in Galatians 5 speaks of the fruit of the Spirit. And so God is taking his character and he is restoring that goodness within us. Now, that means that we are once again becoming useful to God. We are no longer broken, but he is restoring us to perfect obedience, perfect usefulness, and he is going back and redeeming his original plan, and we are a part of that. So that restoration of goodness is an important aspect of godly character, and I would pray for you that God will do more than just make you a kind person, but that he will restore goodness deep down within your soul, and that the image of God in the fullness of his goodness will be evident in you as well. Anyway, there's some thoughts for a Monday morning. Have a great day, and we're off on another great week. Bye for now. God bless.